Okay, so I know you've been waiting for the guy falling out the window part, so it's strange. This is definitely, it's almost funny, it's definitely unique. Eutychus can be translated as fortunate or lucky. So Mr. Lucky, unfortunately, falls out the window, and he gets tired in the middle of Paul's long talk. I know you never fall asleep during a sermon. And perhaps the hot, stuffy room and this whole atmosphere, he was overpowered, it says, by deep sleep. So not even the fresh air of the window seat works, and he tumbles down. And then Paul runs down the stairs, and he acts kind of like Elijah or Elisha in the Old Testament when they resurrect people. He covers over this young man. And even in the middle of this tragedy, Paul's encouraging the people watching. He's saying, don't worry, it's okay. It's okay. His life is in him. Strange picture. Paul only did this once in his life that we have recorded. But Paul descended down the stairs to bring this man back up alive. Does that remind you of our Savior Jesus Christ, who descended down to this earth to encounter dead sinners like us in order to die himself and rise again himself, and for those who put their faith in him, that we would rise with him and be resurrected and have his life now in us. That's the gospel, and here too, we can all rejoice. Because if you're a Christian, you know of a fall that is much worse than even tumbling 3 stories out of a building. You know a fall that happened a long time ago when the whole human race fell into sin. And we fell away from God. We fell into rebellion and rioting against God. And that fall was so bad, it was crippling and debilitating. It was enslaving. It ruled our entire life. It led your heart and mind to rebel against God. It dulled your soul to ignore God. It warped your worship to turn to false gods. That fall that we had eternally separated us from God forever. And you know that the fall was so treacherous and it was so deadly for humans to fall into sin that no prophets or kings, no gurus or sages could put us back together again. And certainly we could not put ourselves back together again. And when all things looked absolutely hopeless, the Holy One himself, God, Jesus Christ, came down, fully God, and he fully took on humanity to fully, once and for all, save humanity from its sins. That whoever would believe in him and put their trust in him, they would be put back together again. They would be restored together again. And they would have his life now living in them. Paul says, do not be alarmed, for his life is in him. What wonderful words for us to hear even today. If your life is in Jesus Christ, his life is in you. You have that same encouragement. Do not be alarmed as we face death, as we face sickness, as we face tragedy. Why? Jesus' life is in me, and I will live eternally. It's why we can go to a funeral and we're not alarmed. We can grieve, we can cry, but we could say the same thing to people. Do not worry, do not be troubled, because he or she is alive right now in Jesus Christ, because I know they put their trust in him. And we can live our lives like that too, not alarmed by death. But dear ones, may we really be truly alarmed when we see people who are dying all around us and they do not know Jesus Christ and they do not have his life in him. We don't have to scare them, but we need to tell them the truth. They should be alarmed. They are heading to a fall worse than 3 stories out of a building. It's a fall permanently, eternally away from Jesus Christ, away from God. And we share the gospel with them to tell them there is one who can restore you. Not just resuscitate you, not just give you a better life right now, but he will give you a whole new life. A life lived with God and for God and by God, now and forever. And you can tell the people today, if God is convinced you of the fall that you have against him, if God has worked in your heart, if he's calling you, would you receive him today to put your faith and trust in him. And you too don't need to be alarmed to ever meet your Maker. You'll actually look forward to the day. I don't care about pearly gates, except that when I cross them, I get to meet Jesus. I don't care about golden streets, except they lead me to his throne. And I don't have to even care about a mansion in heaven, because Jesus told me he's made something better, a room for me in his Father's house. That's the encouragement that we all really, really need.